What made you lose respect for someone? My dad told me I was being selfish for being suicidally depressed after a traumatic experience. Near-death situation. He put myself and one of my real friends, not just someone he'd grab just to vent and act as a yes man to verify whatever he wanted to believe in. Yeah, a real friend. And when I called him after that close call to tell him about it, he didn't even once ask if I or my friend was alright. He just brushed it off, saying my car must be broken. Despite the fact it was his gift, a set of floor mats he insisted would fit in my car, despite telling him multiple times I didn't need them, but he installed them anyway. That caused said near-death situation. Needless to say, once I realized he never was a proper friend, let alone one who cared about my life, I never talked to him since. He'll never learn nor own up to his mistake, but that's fine by me. Plus, living halfway across the world now guarantees I never have to see that liar's face. Got drunk, had an argument with my mum, then went out and beat up a disabled homeless person to let off steam. Store manager I used to work for tried to ghost my shifts without me noticing when I asked for 3 paid days bereavement for my grandfather's funeral. Instead of paying me bereavement, they just erased my shifts, so I only worked about 15 hours in 7 days. Company policy was to give 24 hours paid time off for extended family bereavement. It was right before Christmas too. Couldn't afford to buy gifts for my family right after we lost the one of the only people that brought us all together. Regret giving up so many years for that place. I quit soon after. I found a kitten and took it in, but couldn't keep it because our lease forbade more than one cat. We already had one. It was the sweetest and most cuddly kitten I ever had. I told my co-workers to see if any of them would take it in. A co-worker I really respected said her and her husband were looking for a cat and would take it. About 9 months later they end up moving. Down the road, I ran into that co-worker again and inquired about the kitten. She said it was too much of a pain to move with it, so she literally gave it to some random kids playing on the block. I pray those kids brought it to their parents and treated it right. But the way she could casually discard the pet caused me to lose a lot of respect for her. If I knew that is how it would end up with her, I would have kept it myself regardless of the lease violation. Realizing they'd become slumlords in the few years we hadn't seen each other. A kid shit on me while on the monkey bars. Happy cake day. This might be an odd or unpopular response, but shitty parents in general and all the parents who post inappropriate pics of their kids on social media. I have a friend that posts her 7 and 4-year-old on the toilet or completely naked on FB. They view this as cute and innocent. I have done some advocacy in human trafficking, and these innocent pics is what get found and circulated. I tried to bring it up and tell her gently, but she blew me off. I am also a family doctor and I have kids that come to me when they're preteens and teens and have a lot of guilt, depression, and anxiety around their parents posting shit without their permission. There are whole studies being done now on the effect of this behavior on kids later in life, and the prelim results are not great. And yet when I tell this to parents, they look at me as if I have no idea what I am talking about. I am staring to expand my family, and I and my husband have decided that no pics will go on social media, and instead, we will do what a few others friends of mine have done, which is create a shared Google Drive where they dump all the pictures for a certain private group to see. Friend cheated on his wife but denied it. I trusted him versus his Pico ex. She turned out to be right this time. Split custody of 3 kids, and he had a few girlfriends and then married another woman with kids of her own. She had left an abusive relationship and he was her savior. We went camping one weekend and she freaked out that he was away for 2 days. He dropped her and the kids and got divorced. Fast forward a couple months and they had a secret Florida, lives in Washington second wedding and back together. Another couple months go by and divorced again. He put those kids through abandonment twice, was a terrible example for his own kids, and I refused to have that type of example around my family. My father. When he joins every health quackery MLM. My dad blew up at my mom when she was stressing over and being too emotional about her dad's health taking a nosedive. He ended up dying that Monday. He yelled at her for buying a tool that would make it easier for her to fix something around the house, even though we have a similar tool. It's not like he'd ever fix anything though. They fought about something else the next morning, I don't remember what. He really wasn't there for her at all. I've lost any respect for him because he's not apologetic at all. Ghosted me over $12. Wasn't even a big deal really, but apparently was too much of a coward to talk to me again. His loss is my gain. I told my brother some very personal things while on a road trip across the country. About 2 weeks later my mom asks me about that very personal thing that I had only ever told him about. The whole family knew, in fact. He also wanted to play my Xbox while I was visiting my parents' house for a few weeks in the summer. My parents really do not like video games, but they were out for a couple days, so I thought it would be fine as long as they did not find out. A few days later I was pulled into a corner and given a little chat about breaking their trust and playing video games behind their backs. Best part is they have no problem with him playing on his computer. I have no respect for people who can't keep personal secrets, snitches, and opportunistic liars even if they are family. I found out a church leader had beat his wife nearly to death. They constantly lied, even after confronted, even after I asked them not to lie anymore to me and just be more straightforward. Slowly coming to the realization that they just judged random people. Not in the casual comment kind of way like oh look at their hair or such, but like full-on judged random people. Definitely a complete turn-off in every way. Heard one of my co-workers start talking dumb COVID conspiracy theories. I wasn't part of the conversation, but I left until they were done. Lost respect for my ex-best friend and her then boyfriend, now husband. Her boyfriend offered to let my fairly new significant other at the time stay over at his house. I was living with my parents at the time. My SO was coming to visit me. My SO drove 10 hours to come see me. We live in different cities. My SO was so exhausted that he mistakenly passed out on her boyfriend's bed instead of the mattress they left for him on the ground. My SO immediately apologized to her BF and said he was so exhausted he just saw bed and dropped. Anyway, after my SO surprised me, she messaged me cryptically by saying, "Was everything okay?" I responded all confused like everything is great, why? She then proceeded to tell me that my SO was weird and how he fell asleep on her man's bed. I then asked my SO what happened and he immediately apologized and said it was such a long drive, he just was totally out of it. I was like okay, it was a mistake, but she acted as if someone had been murdered. Anyway, after my SO left I get another message from her BF saying your SO wore shoes in my house. Anyway, I don't know how true that was because my SO takes off his shoes at my house and the other friend's house we visit. IRL. Anyway, it was so ridiculous. The friendship continued and I realized both her and her man are clowns. Update, me and my SO going strong for 3 years. Guy that I knew murdered his ex's 2 dogs because he was mad at her. Thankfully he got back into heroin. No, I don't much associate with heroin users, and he died from a nod not too long after. Voting for Trump is a pretty big one. To me it shows they are easily conned or are very selfish in the way they're willing to trample over others to get theirs. Bigger than Trump is climate change deniers or anti-science talks. Had a former that they tried hitting on a girl and when he failed, he yelled "fucking bitch, I hope you get raped." I walked away and told him to fuck off. We were at a friend's birthday, about an hour across town from our area. My friend A kindly offered to be designated driver for 3 of us, since we all lived in adjoining suburbs. We all had plans the next morning, so we were planning to leave around 10 p.m., factoring in the drive home. And was really having a ball at the party, and vibing with people. I asked him if he just wanted to take Uber home, so he could stay later. He said no, he would be ready to go soon. I kept asking him, as other people pulled him into doing other things. I kept saying it was okay, but she did want to leave. By 11 p.m., I was annoyed and told him we were leaving with or without him. He had done 15 shots at this point, and ended up vomiting on the way home. The plastic bag he used had a hole and leaked onto the seat covers. I told him next time he needs to get an Uber, and it was not cool. He held us up. He told me it wasn't a big deal, and he would pay for cleaning of the seat covers. I told him it was important to respect someone who was doing him a big favor. He told me if I found it was to be a big issue, I could call him and confront him about it. I realized there was no point in discussing this with someone who didn't respect his friends. And he didn't reply to A's message about cleaning the car. He hasn't talked to me since. Talking shit. I'm a nurse and lost all respect for one of my co-workers. She had become very good friends with both my wife and I. I knew she was a Trump supporter, but that didn't bother me. What did it for me is when she went all QAnon/anti-vax. One day on the hallway she just went off on almost every fringe theory she could. Fauci is a fraud, the virus isn't real, the election was stolen, and so on. Besides work-related issues, I haven't spoken/texted since January. Fuck her. Couldn't make my former best friend's graduation for a medical assistant 7+ hours away because I was 2 months into a new job and couldn't request the time off. I tried to explain to her and got an attitude, but that was expected. Her father then wrote me on Facebook after the graduation and told me how shitty of a friend I was to make his daughter cry on the most important day of her life because I wasn't there, and more I don't care to repeat. I lose respect for someone if they disrespect the other genders and reduce them into mere objects. Me and a lot of my friends are always joking with each other, and sometimes the jokes got pretty dark, but we always knew the limit. If someone went over it, they immediately understood and stopped, and depending on the context apologized. And then one of them just straight up started being racist. It's weird when it's someone you know, it's hard to notice it. I did when we were playing COD Zombies and he started calling the zombies crioulo, a word in Portuguese for black people, can be racist depending on context, but not necessarily, and macaco, monkey, and also just negro, the word for a black person. We were playing and I heard him say these things and I was just like, WTF is this? And now I don't talk to him. I served a Mormon mission in Mexico. We had this old guy listening to us but could barely read because he had bad eyesight. Really nice guy with a lovely family and a hard worker. Our district leader called and said we should stop teaching him because he and his family were wicked because they did not agree to being baptized after a couple visits. You had better believe we fought like hell that night over the phone. It's always about money. Having people in your life that are cheap will always be an issue. Found out a friend was in a long-term affair cheating on his wife. Cheating wife who refused to stop fucking. My friends accused me of leaving her when she needed me most. Recently got a new co-worker and he was pretty chill. Went out with other co-workers and him and we all talked about funny shit we did in high school. He laughed and talked about how he gave freshmen acid unknowingly and trying to hotbox the principal's room. Yeah. He was literally that person those anti-drug ads portray drug dealers as. Like holy shit. People who take advantage of others because of their kindness. My cousin lives with us. One day I walked into her room for some reason to see her vaping. That made me lose a lot of respect for her, and I questioned myself if she was hiding other things from me. At the end of our marriage, my, now ex-husband told me one of the reasons he found me attractive was because he knew I would be getting money from my sister's wrongful death lawsuit from my parents when they passed away. So sick. They voted for Trump. My half-sister refusing to admit she is part Mexican. Her mom is Italian and she can pass for white. My mom is Puerto Rican and let's just say I'm the perfect coffee 2 creams color. She refuses to acknowledge my dad's side and refuses to get photos with me. Business partner who refused to pay a vendor $1,200 because he's dying of cancer anyway. Of course a typical lazy person like yourself hates someone else because of their views. Typical keyboard warrior. Bias, feminism, lying, backbiting and manipulating aka leech. When she would brag to me constantly about being in an open relationship and how progressive and okay with it she was until the literal first time her boyfriend ever tried to sleep with another girl. She had been fucking a different dude every other night for months, but the second he wanted to see one girl she no longer wanted an open relationship and has ever since referred to his one fling as cheating. They made each other miserable for another 2 years after this before finally ending it.